Hi, I'm Nikki.
Hi, I'm Hope. Welcome to Equipped Fellowship, where friends become family through Christ. We're two Jesus-loving friends on a mission to share personal stories, resources, and real talk about our triumphs, breakthroughs, struggles, and setbacks. Why? Because we believe you are called to live victoriously, and we're here to equip you with Holy Spirit-led tools and strategies to strengthen your faith, transform your mindset, and walk boldly in God's promises. Because here's the truth. You've been given great and precious promises by God. So grab your coffee, lean in, and let's grow together. It's time to step into everything God has for you.
And are we stepping into it today? I was on a run. What was it, yesterday, Hope? Yeah, yesterday. And I got this download. And it was been something that is like a reoccurring pattern in my life, kind of like the outsider looking in, like never really feeling like I had a seat in the natural at somebody's table. I always felt like I was on the fringe of groups, or like always envious of other groups who were getting together. And then here I was trying to force my way and get into these groups that I really didn't belong to, but sometimes our earthly yearning, we want to be invited to these tables. And I kind of put it like this. I said, have you ever walked into a room and felt instantly like you didn't belong?
No, never.
Never. Like everyone had a seat at the table, but you were standing off to the side wondering if there would ever be a place for you. Maybe it was work, maybe it was in your family, maybe even at church. That feeling of being an outsider on the fringe, and you're just feeling so isolated. But here is the truth. Here's the good news, everybody. God has already chosen you, set a place for you, and called you his own. You don't need human approval to belong. You belong just because he says you do.
Absolutely. And it's reconciling that with our self, right? With our flesh. You know, as you were speaking, because I didn't know what you were going to say, it reminds me of there's this one speaker, and he's like, we're all part of the land of misfit toys. And so we have ourselves, and we're in this community together, and it's actually beautiful that we're just a bunch of misfits. In part because the reason we're wanting to be at the table is because the people are uniting over something that we can't relate to.
Right.
And it's things we shouldn't be able to relate to.
That's right.
But we're longing for community, which we're totally going to do an episode on community soon. And with that longing that God has put in us, that desire, we have misdirected it to another land. And he's like, no, I actually want you in this land of misfit toys, so you're not in alignment of all the yuck of the world.
That's right.
So we're little misfit toys, but we still got some cuteness to us, you know. There's a little kid that loves us. There's a maker that made us for this exact reason, right?
That's right. That's right. But our earthly flesh wants to belong so bad. And so many times we get locked into the wrong people, the wrong group, the wrong community, just to fit in, quote unquote, fit in, do what everybody else is doing. But both Hope and I know that God created us to stand out. We're those little misfit toys.
Yeah.
We were created on purpose for a purpose. And when you try to sit down at a seat that is not in alignment with your purpose, with your God-given tools, your I want to say this weird word, like your place that stirs your soul, you don't need to sit down. And it's that uncoupling of those worldly things and those worldly identities that we really do have a purpose, and it's not fitting in all the time.
You know, Nikki, you just hit on something that I think you said the last episode. I believe it was the last episode. Gosh, it doesn't matter. If the listeners have listened to previous episodes, they'll know what I'm talking about. And actually might have been an overflow episode. But you were talking about how, like, you've just kind of shared with people now, it's like, wherever I go, Jesus goes, right? Like, locking arms with Jesus. And I think a really cool reminder of an encouragement to not try and force yourself at the wrong table is, are there two seats?
Yes.
That actually just brought me so much peace. If there's not two seats for me and Jesus,
Yeah.
I don't need to be there.
That's right. That's so good.
That really is, but it's because of what you said previously. Do you remember saying that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And not even just two seats, but a seat that's also big enough, because we can also be in communities or forcing ourselves in areas that look okay because maybe they allow for a little slice
Yes.
of what we value. But do they value the entirety?
That's it.
Yeah.
Because that's what I said, like, even in church, there's been tables that I
Right.
wanted to sit in, groups I wanted to join, people who I wanted to go to brunch with and was never invited or never allowed, for lack of a better word. But then when you sit back and you talk to your Father, you talk to God about it, you journal about it, you realize just what Hope said, that maybe it was a slice of them that attracted to you, but when you back up and you expand the vision, those really aren't your people. And that's okay. We need to be okay with acknowledging that not everybody is your people.
Correct. You are gonna believe this, but you're not gonna believe this. It's what you just said was one of the first things God highlighted to me about why sometimes this happens, right? Like why does he allow you to be on the outside when it's, when you're longing for, and it's one of those things you can kind of twist and be like, but God, if you love me, wouldn't you want me to feel accepted, and I was like, Lord, what's your agenda for this episode? And he said, perspective is everything, and your vision isn't clear when you're up close too soon to see what you're looking at. He knows how long it takes for your vision to clear. And he put clear vision equals increased awareness, aka discernment, increased protection because images are now seen more vividly, and increased purpose because there's clarity on what you're supposed to focus on.
Yes. Yeah.
You can't. It's literally, you said zoom out. You zoom out, and all of a sudden the perception of everything clears up. And it's like staring at anything too close. Man, that looks good. That slice of them looks really good.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's because that's all you see, because you're right in front of it. And then you end up, I feel this for someone listening. Then you end up getting really hurt by all the other parts of them. And then you stay because all you see is that one, and you're getting stabbed all around from, like, you're focused on that one good slice, but you're getting attacked everywhere else from that same person.
And then the enemy turns it in on you, and you feel like it's your fault, that there's something inherently wrong with you, that you did something that's allowing you not to be able to fit in perfectly with them. Like that, and God's like, that's not your puzzle. You weren't meant to fit in with them.
That's
And not lock in with them because you weren't created to lock in with them. Find your other people.
So here's the thought too. When you're not created to lock in with them, but what about the moments where it is just for a season that you're locked in, and then being okay to let go? Because I think I can be guilty of defining what locked in even looks like or means, right? Which is why we got to step back, go to the Father, get a better perspective. But let's say you are locked in, you found your one person, right? Just one person, but then all of a sudden you're like feeling this tension of change. Now what? We gotta be okay that wherever we are is not a forever thing, both on the outside and on the inside with somebody.
Yes. And some people it's a cycle with some people. Some people you're like so close with one season, and then another
Yes.
season you have time and distance apart, but then God brings that person back into your life for some reason.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you always need to be open
Yeah.
to whatever God puts in front of you, but we can't be too close to it to distract our vision.
Yeah. And talking about being open, something and also open plus what you said about how dangerous can be too, whether it's you're on the outside, you're focused on just one part of someone else, you're on the inside and you feel like there's tension, so now you're going back on the outside and you're like, what's wrong with me? I felt like the Lord wanted to say, hey, while you're in the waiting, whether it's figuring out, I want to go on the inside, or it's, wait, I'm coming back out, what's happening? While you're in that waiting, don't forget to ask the Father why, but not why because, like, I'm no good. Why am I not good enough to stay here? Why am I not good enough to be in? But rather asking why because it brings forth what needs to be addressed in you and around you.
Yeah.
As scripture says, we only see in part, and if we can accept that and ask him why, he'll always lead us down a path of righteousness.
Mhm.
But the proper why, not a why am I no good? Why am
Yes.
I a misfit? Why why are you removing this? That's not the right why. It's just simply asking him and seeking to continue to broaden your vision on
Mhm.
what he's saying to you for your life and calling you to all that he's calling you to and to give you every precious gift that he has for you.
Yeah. Because when I can think back now into those tables, those groups, those people, those situations where I felt like I didn't belong or was in the middle of it, wrestling with like, do I stay? Do I go? I've always learned something from our Father
Mm.
during that time,
Oh,
whether it was like how to treat people or what if I did see something great in some other person, like being drawn and trying to cultivate some of that in myself or whatever it is, like I've learned something from it. I don't, and it was only in that stepping back could I receive that discernment from the Father.
absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. Um, and we've said this probably, who knows, probably not every episode, but in my heart, it feels like it to some extent of like the peace.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you find peace? It's always that zooming out and that stepping back. And that is him. Like that has to be our pursuit every time, as simple as that is. You don't, when you feel that fleshy desire to be somewhere, to be someone, or to be
Mm-hmm.
something, there's never peace attached to it.
There's that.
It's this like wrestling all the time and this tension, or the wrong tension, because you can live in tension, but there's
Yeah,
still peace in godly tension.
there is. And looking at my notes, it was this kind of locks in with what you were saying earlier. I was journaling about why do we feel like outsiders? One is comparison.
Yeah.
I usually, when I start to feel like an outsider, I start comparing myself to those people who are in that group, measuring against their gifts, their appearances, their so-called success,
Yes.
their worldly knowledge, and I'm comparing myself to them. And then, like you said, Hope, I'm feeling like an outsider because it's triggering past wounds. Like we've said so many times, is this like a little Nikki? Is this a little Hope issue? Is this a big Nikki? Is this a big Hope issue?
Yeah.
Like past wounds, like past rejections, past betrayals, being told that you didn't belong in a past season or you weren't enough to do X, Y, or Z. It's bringing those things up. And finally, like we both said, like believing, we feel like outsider because we're believing the enemy's lies. Satan loves to whisper, you don't belong here. You're the odd one out.
Absolutely. And as you said, we talk often about the little Nikki, little Hope, big Hope, big Nikki kind of things, and the unhealed parts and being triggered by that. And that's simultaneously why you have to be careful and zooming in on that little slice of goodness you see. Because like I was mentioning, you see that, but you're getting hurt everywhere else because
Yeah.
hurt people hurt people.
Mhm.
And it's better actually to say unhealed people
Yes.
hurt people. So while you might be seeing a little slice of the potential, like you talked about, or the healed part, and so you're like, ooh, there's the good,
Mhm.
all their hurt is still coming at you. And if you're stepping in too soon with, I'll use me, little Hope problems, you want to talk about the deep, deep pain that you really, and I know you can probably attest to this, Nikki, you can't really find words for.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just pain that hurts on almost every level of who you are.
Yes. I mean, I can think back to a situation and feel that indescribable pain. I mean, this is probably, I can talk about it in vague terms because everybody's been in a situation like this. You're scrolling through social media and you see a group of women getting together, and you kind of thought that you're in the bubble a little bit, maybe not in bubble, but you thought you were bubbling around it, right? And you see all these people are together and you not there. You realize you were not invited. And for me, this was 2 years ago. I mean, it really triggered me. Like it really, but it was, I couldn't describe like why, because I could rationalize like, oh yeah, this is like a champagne
Mm-hmm.
brunch. They know I don't drink, and oh, they probably know each other from this. And like, I can see why I wasn't, but that wound was definitely opened,
Yeah.
and I was definitely feeling all the feels and probably more feels than I should about this thing that's on social media.
Which, you're talking about that wound being open. We've also, I don't know if we talked about on the podcast as much as like you have talked to me about it,
Yeah.
of like how wounds just kept getting open in my life. And if I pause to think about it, there's two reasons why the wounds would get open before fully healing.
Mhm.
One being that I moved too soon, or, dwell on something too long, whether it's from comparison or whatever it may be. But the second reason, and I'd be curious if you have any thoughts on this, Nikki, as it's coming to me, is because my desire for a different outcome is bigger than any other desire that I have. And that's like a freaking spear straight to the heart.
Oh, I'm getting emotional right now. Like I'm tearing up right now just hearing that.
And I think we all can fall into that category of wanting it to be different.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. For me, that's definitely a little Nikki wound. Not feeling like enough, not feeling like enough for the people who are supposed to love you the most, and just wanting to be chosen by the
Yes.
people who were supposed to choose you, but chose not to choose you. And it's so hard, even though I know like God chose me, like He created me, like every part of my hair, every part of me, like He was purposely made and formed, and but the people who were supposed to just, for lack of a better term, just treat me like garbage.
And this other thing that's crazy, like, so let's say we'll use your example of like, the truth,
Mhm.
you're fearfully and wonderfully made, what scripture says about you. But simultaneously, the enemy can use that same thing against you. So it's like, despite what God's saying, and God, this is what I'm picturing in my mind's eye. It's like the scriptures are starting to help that wound scab over. Yeah. But then the enemy's like, well, isn't Christian community supposed to surround you and be there for you all the time? Isn't everyone that's older than you have more wisdom, speak into your life and build you up? Isn't that how it's supposed to be? And starts perverting the truths, because they are true. Mm-hmm. But simultaneously, as the enemy is using that truth, what he's hiding from you is his own strategies to hurt other people. Mm-hmm. So he's disregarding the fact that these people are hurting too, thanks to him from the beginning. And all that's happening now is there's like this, again, tension. I see this, like, it's kind of gross, but like tension of like a scab. Yeah. And now you're in this uncomfortable place. And you're like, well, that is true. That is true. People are supposed to be used by God to help me. I mean, that's been my own story. Mm-hmm. That's actually I Marco Polo'd you last night. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so tired. I've been tired the past 2 days because God has like wrecked me in the best way possible, but it wears on your soul. And, I apologized to my husband. Oh my gosh. Because I told him, he didn't really agree with me, which is funny. Like, it's like God, here's a word for people. God will put something in your heart, and if you hurt someone and they don't even realize it, it doesn't mean you don't still apologize or own up for it. Because my husband is so like kind and honestly just, I think, really forgiving and just go with the flow, that he don't realize how much crap I've done. I realize it because God shows it in my face. Like, he's like, yeah, girl, you've done this to your husband. So anyways, I'm sharing all this because as we're talking, I apologized to my husband just last night for being super selfish. And I said, and I'm telling you this because I allowed my desire to have people in my life that are men to heal a father wound to be stronger than my relationship with you. And it was like, and God really did intend for that wound to be healed, but he never meant for it to be what steered my ship. Yes. And so I was gushing open and almost like being selfish and taking whatever I could find, whatever tissue, and like trying to like stop the bleeding myself. Yeah. And the only way you know how to stop your own bleeding is to tap into the pain you already have. And you're like, well, I know I have this pain. I know that I wasn't loved. I know I wasn't selected. I know that someone turned their back on me. So I just keep grabbing for more external to close the wound. Mm-hmm. And I just got that revelation yesterday.
So powerful. Because we can all like switch up the situation, but all can come to mind similar things that we have done in our own life where we were selfish, where we're just trying to like fill the hole. Like I just see like you got the tissues and everything. Like I see a hole in the ground and we're trying to just shovel in all the dirt, but with like the tiniest spoon ever.
Yeah.
Like we're tapping into the wrong thing to try to fill it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I was gravitating to these groups of people, because again, Satan's clouding my visions. Like, this is where you need to be. These are the people you should be hanging out with. These are the groups that are going to fill that need, are going to heal that little Nikki wound. She's going to feel a sense of belonging and community. And I'm just going to be zippity doo dah after that. And God's like, that's not how you fix it. That's not how you get healed.
And you know what's crazy about all of that, Nikki, is like you and I owning up to this first and foremost, being leaders and owning up to this. Yeah. That we know That's not how you get healed. We know the scriptures. We know the scriptures better today than we did yesterday. Like, we have been deep into the word, and even still, we can be caught in the deception.
Yeah.
And that's not to be scary at all, because God is so great and truly like wonderful in his restoration process. But I also really wanted to emphasize that, because something that I did realize through my own journey with the Lord yesterday was many times Christians, followers of Christ, believe that they can't fall into certain traps. You are vulnerable.
Yes.
Because you are human. And many, many episodes ago, I talked about learning to value how fragile I was. Well, guess what? When I said that, I was talking about my fragile emotions. Well, no, God means every part.
Yes.
At any point in time, you can expose yourself, and you would pause and be like, wait, I did that? I chose that? I acted that way? And it's because the enemy knows how to use your wounds and other people's wounds against themselves. So never, ever, ever think you cannot fall into that.
Right. I was just talking to one of my clients earlier today, and they were talking about like this habit they had like a long time ago, and it's not a great habit, but they were saying like, they were doing the stuff that they used to do a while ago, but somehow in the morning, like they felt like so awesome and so energized and so, like, wow, like maybe that really did help me rest and like take the stress off or whatever. But I was just like, the enemy will use dysfunction from the past and bring it back up again and mask it as something good. Like you said, like there are traps everywhere.
Yes.
That the
And you
enemy,
can find evidence to back up that it's good. You can find it
right,
in research.
right. Like if somebody wasn't sleeping for 5 years and you found something and you slept and you felt like, oh, energized and productive the next day, like wouldn't you be like, oh, that's it?
Yeah.
But the enemy has the playbook. He just, flipped back 20 years and it was like, hoo, this is how we can open a door again. We're going to mask it as something good and parade it as a miracle cure. But it's not. You're going to end up right back where you were before.
Yes. And you know what's interesting about that conversation that you're sharing? And this is a topic I often stay away from whenever I hear it come up. But it's like the great debates of some benefits of substances, right?
Yeah.
And great proof and evidence of medical benefits. And I have no place to say anything, to be honest. All I do know, and this is what it boils down to, is both sides of my bloodline, strong addiction.
Yeah.
Strong, strong, strong. As crazy as wild drugs, something as simple as food. So I really could care less about what all the medical documents are saying about curing cancer, stopping this, doing that, because I know what is that going. I mean, we're talking, 100 years back easily of what's in the bloodline. Am I in a new one? Yes, I am. Do I align with Jesus? Absolutely. But why would I give the enemy an open door to me when my God, the creator of maybe these substances, whatever, I don't care at the moment, but what I do know is he's a creator of all things. He's got something else he can help me out with if I'm struggling with something.
Yeah.
He is not the tempter.
Right.
And so you just have to be very careful. If you know enough about your personal traps, family traps, and wounds, do not put yourself in tempting places, which a lot of times are those inner circles.
And let's take this even further. Let's go back to that champagne brunch a couple years ago. Would I have been able to go through that brunch and not have the champagne? Would that been a doorway if I was invited, if I accepted the invite, sat down with those lovely ladies and just had a glass or two of champagne? What door could have that opened for me? Because I know that when I have alcohol, it's just not good for me. It's not good for my body, my mind, my spirit, my soul. It could be fine for other people, but just like you said, Hope, I know how it affects me.
Yeah.
And that's the only proof that I need.
Right.
And I don't need to justify it or apologize for it. Because I don't know how many times people make you apologize for not drinking. I'm like, people, I drank. I know. I know. Like, I am better. You like this version of Nikki better than any other version of Nikki that can come out when I'm drinking.
Yeah. Wow. As you're saying this, what's coming to mind, because I was talking about medicine and medical and all this, and you're able to go out into the world for anything, even alcohol has been, right, red wine, all that's been all over the maps of benefits, not and you can find studies that have a large population of people, so it really shows a clear sign. This is your permission to only need a study of one.
Yes. Yeah.
That's all you need. God knows you. We've talked about that time and time again, every hair on your head, but even more than that, he never missed a single opportunity of when you were wounded.
Yeah.
He was there. And he was there even when it was a self-inflicted wound, because you were saying, but I really want to be really close to this problem. He was there. He knows you. Let you and your study of just you be enough.
Yeah.
I see all these, I don't know why, all these cute little heart band-aids going all over people's bodies. It's so random. But it's no more allowing the fleshy desires to want to be included because of little Nikki, little Hope, little whoever's listening problems. No more. Let him put his love stamped all over those wounds. The story isn't different. We have to accept the realities. And it's okay. We don't need to change it. We don't need to hijack God's plan. We don't need to. That's an episode if you haven't listened to it. We don't need to interfere and to fix, because we will misalign and miss the mark every time.
Right. We need to stop asking God, why don't I belong here?
Yeah.
We need to start asking God, where is it that you are calling me to?
Oh, that's so good, because I put the whole don't ask why I'm not good enough, and I said, ask while you're in the waiting, or ask, why am I in the waiting? What are you up to? So what are you up to, Lord? And then what was your question?
Where do I belong?
And where do I belong? Ask those questions, because it's not rooted in you failing and not being good enough.
Yeah.
You've got a place. God is up to something, and you do belong somewhere.
That's right.
That's so cool.
We have to switch the perception on these things, because we're so inundated about these earthly things, and you got to fit in this box, and you got to be in this, you got to check this all off. The only box you need to check, the only relationship you need to be secure in is the one with God. Check that box. And he is doing something, like you just said, he's working it out. He's got a good plan for you.
Can I tell you something really cool? So when we were discussing this earlier about not asking the why, but rather the where and the what, I mentioned briefly earlier, he'll always lead us down a path of righteousness. And I was like, God, that's pretty good. But, it's a little, like, lack of a better term, kind of churchy, right? Like, it's just, sometimes you don't, it's just like, God, let's change that. Do you mind helping a sister out and presenting it a little less, like, being all buttoned up? It done hit. It done hit the heart for me. And so he led me to scripture. And I was like, okay, now it's making sense. He's so cool. Sorry. I get blown away by his attention to detail in all of our lives. Proverbs 4:18. The path of righteousness is like the light of dawn. It shines brighter and brighter with the full day. So he leads you down a path that only gets brighter.
Yeah.
The second thing, many people know Psalm 23, but here's Psalm 23:3 with that. Restoring of our souls is linked to paths of righteousness. That's what Psalm 23:3 says. So your soul will be restored when you let him in and you ask him, where are you taking me? And what are you doing?
Yeah.
Restoration's what he cares about. And that's kind of what you were saying right before. I was like, you're not going to believe this.
Yeah.
He really completely transformed that concept for me. What is the path of righteousness? You think it's doing all the right things, right? Following all the commandments, doing things. No, it's taking you higher and brighter, being the light, which is your thing, Nikki, talking about being the light that you are, and restoring you.
Yeah. And I don't think we realize how fragmented our soul gets.
Oh, girl.
Josephine and I were just talking about this last night, how we have to restore the fragments of our soul to us.
Oh my, I'm passionate about that. It's the only way to become whole. And here's the good, so you using that term, Nikki, if you try to force yourself in an area sooner than it's supposed to be, you are actually fragmenting more.
Yes.
And we know, even if you just said yes to Jesus yesterday, that he loves and he wants what's best for you. You may not believe it, but you know it's true.
Yeah.
So he absolutely, as a loving father through Jesus, is not wanting to shatter you more. Oh gosh, soul fragmentation. I'm very passionate about that. I love that you're talking to your daughter about that.
We'll have to do an episode on that because it's hard to understand.
Yeah, we'll have to do a full-blown episode. I think we might go a little deeper into it next time, potentially. But I think, to your point, it's such a big concept that I don't think it'll be a full-blown one next time, but that would be a good one. It would help people understand as well why trauma affects you so much, why being in relationships are so important, and like why being timely with your relationships are so important.
And we're so used to getting things out of our body, our systems, our thoughts, we're so used to purging things out of us where we don't realize that the soul needs to be restored back to us.
Oh my gosh. It's my notes that I had written down for next time. So that's really cool.
Stay tuned for next week.
Yeah, we'll see. Man, that's so cool. And funny enough, like my last note was God's top priority is restoring us. And there is no crowd, income, or fame that can replace the feeling of restoration. And I am a living testimony of it.
Yes. Yes. There's no greater feeling. Even if you just have it for a second, a minute, weeks, or whatever, when that feeling comes in, it is like
no words.
Yeah, there is no words. I'm trying to explain it. And I'm just like, there's nothing in my life that I could compare that to. Nothing.
Well, you know what's funny, Nikki? Just, towards the beginning of the podcast, we talked about a pain that had no words. Well, wouldn't it be like the Father to restore you to a place where you've got no words? Because he cancels out the pain.
Yes. It's so true.
And there's no words, and you don't need to have words because it's for you, and people don't need to understand it because it's for you. Study of one.
Yeah. It has to be, because if we're not a study of one, then we're comparing ourselves to somebody else. And God didn't create two individuals exactly alike.
That's
Never has,
true.
never will.
That's a great point. Wow. And that's why there's no in-crowd income or fame that can feel better than restoration, because the fame you're looking at is someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
The in-crowd is another crowd.
Yeah.
The income is the blessing that God has for them, and He's got something for you too.
Mm-hmm.
Comparison. That's a good one, Nikki. That's,
Yeah.
wow, that's wild.
I know. I keep thinking about it, and I just, yeah. It gives me a lot of perspective.
I got new perspective today.
When you think about, when you read the possible drug interactions on the bottom of like the warning label on you take whatever medicine or whatever, and it's like these side effects could happen depending on the person. But some people have completely different other ones because no two people are alike. We can't be expected to fit in with everybody. Like, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Like, Hope and I are alike in so many ways, but there's lots of ways that we're completely different. And that's what makes it awesome.
Yeah, right. That's what I have no doubt one of the big reasons why the Lord has us together. I mean, I've been told so many times by listeners of like how we're such like this balance to each other, and that's not orchestrated. I mean, have you seen today's episode? I'm like, oh my gosh, I just said that. This is I get real excited. But it's just like we don't talk. You say, "Hey, I got this download." I'm like, "Cool." I take it to the Father,
Mm-hmm.
and we just go back and forth. And that is the beauty of not being the same. It's a pure example of needing every part of the body
That's right.
and not desiring to be an ear when you're called to be a foot.
Yes. It is. And, it took me a while to realize this, but now I know the importance of it. Your table doesn't have to be big. Your group, your community, your innermost circle should be your smallest, your tightest, your most intimate.
Yeah.
And everybody else in your life is like the outer rings of the bullseye. They're there. They might be there for a season or a reason, or because you take a class or have a hobby with them or whatever. They're still there. They're still part of it, but they're not in that innermost sacred space with you. And that's where we have to start thinking small and then big. Who is in my inner circle, and who are those who are just like the highlights, little moments outside of that.
Yes. And as you're saying that, Nikki, a word that I think the Lord wants us to use when we talk about the small,
Mm-hmm.
a word / a question to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Is this person safe for me?
Yeah.
And that's why it's small.
Mm-hmm.
Because of your history or because of their history, there aren't a lot of safe people, and that doesn't poo-poo on them or you.
Right.
It's because God knows what safety brings for each individual. So instead of being like, man, I want to be liked by so many people, it's where are you safest? Because we thrive in security, and boy, do we hurt in insecurity.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of our wounds lie. As you were talking in the beginning about people, little Nikki wounds of they were supposed to be here for me. What does that say? You weren't safe.
Mm-hmm. And you need those safe people, because those are the people that can hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Hope's a very safe person in my life. She can say things to me that won't trigger me. But if somebody who's not in that safe bubble with me were to say those things, I'm going to be triggered all day long and feeling all kinds of ways. You need those people to help keep you accountable and in lockstep and point you back to Jesus and point you back to God and point you back to the Holy Spirit when you need it. When they see you turn in a way, they're like, no, come back here. And you don't get offended. You don't, you believe what they say because you trust them.
Thank you, Nikki, for being a friend that has brought healing to me. May every person listening be able to have that one person and be okay if you're not in the same city or state. And know that God's got so much for you. And today has really preached to me. Like you said, Nikki, gave me a new perspective, and only God can do that, because I get upset sometimes. I get upset sometimes because I'm like, God, why did you make me this way? So it's not even, why am I not good enough? It's like, why did you make me this way? Why did you make me think differently? And I've wrestled with that question for a long time with God, because I mean, even in college, like I hated alcohol. I hated being around it. I've always hated alcohol, but I'm like, but I'm the only person that hates it at the age of 19. Like I hated being around it. My feelings hurt when my friends chose alcohol over me. Like, not many 19 to 21-year-olds are feeling that way, but right. I was. And so I wrestled with that emotion for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And today's conversation peeled back another layer for me of freedom, of like, truly, he's up to something and he is leading me to a place that I belong.
That's right.
I will take the land of misfit toys.
That's right.
Because there's love there.
Mm-hmm.
The richest love.
Yes. And we're coupled like last week's episode. I choose Jesus. I'm linking arms with him. And he's going to guide me. He's going to lead my steps to exactly where I belong, who I belong with, where I should go, what I should do next. I'm going to let him guide it.
Amen.
Not me and my earthly desires.
There will be 2 seats for you and him.
That's right. That's right.
I think that may do it.
That'll do it. Yes. Yes. If this episode reminded you that you have a seat at God's table, pass it along to a friend who may feel left out right now. Your encouragement could be the reminder that they desperately need, that they always have a seat with God at his table. Until next time, remember, you are equipped, you are loved, and you belong.
Be blessed.